Buongiorno a tutti.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. So nice to see so many of you here. Thank you for being with us at the Digital Talks. Do you know what we're talking about? Are we going to talk about the marketplace, about the future? What about? Mr. President, do come along, please. Don't be too shy. What are we going to talk about today? I'm afraid some doubts, that I always look at you. Well, we're talking about an important generational shift. Come closer, Mr. President. I represent the old generation, and I was telling you earlier on, I'm very pleased to see that many young people have come about, and this is certainly going to be a topic of their interest, and I'm sure that they're going to have some debate. So ever since 2017, we developed, so we are part of the change. Quite. Well, we've been quite a number of changes. We did change, but this healthcare emergency has given us even more thrust. Indeed, it provided us with new stimuli so that we can come forward with proposals, and results are proving that we are doing right, that our effort is providing us with good results. We shouldn't say that the Federation is alive. It is up to our audience to say so. I believe this is the case. We started off some 15 years ago, and now the Federation has changed and has gained importance. We're pretty much like the marketplace. So the marketplace is constantly developing. It never stands still, right? Well, this is something that we see when we go around the stands. The market certainly is not crystallized. I am very happy about this trade fair. We worked a lot. We held many meetings between different associations and Fiera di Vicenza and IAG. And by the way, I'd like to thank Marco Carniello, who is the true living soul of IAG. And, walking around the different exhibitors, I've heard that they're quite pleased. They worked, and this makes us look at the future with some trust. So it means that the marketplace is developing. Well, you're here both as president and as a jeweler of the Bari province, right? And I saw that apart from physical sales, you have implemented also online contact. Well, we've done so over a number of years. We started off a few years ago, and we tried improving that. So can we talk about omnichannel? There are studies that we are going to talk about, proving that real shops also are enjoying a new life. Yes, indeed. We believe that selling online is acting as a window for the real shop. So you remain that digital sales are very useful. There are people who agree with you. There are people who disagree. There are always different ideas on any subject. It would be interesting to know whether our consumers, and you can tell us something about that, will say, wow, what a beautiful jewel. Well, this only happens in the physical store, but even online, if you have a nice picture of a piece of jewelry, because you can tell stories about jewels also showing pictures. And you know that we pushed a lot over the past few months after the COVID crisis. But let's have a look at the results of a research project that we carried out. I'd like to introduce the speaker, Fabrizio Valente, somebody I've known for years, and I'm sure that you have heard about him. Fabrizio has been my tutor at a master course in Confcommercio. We shared a common experience in Spain, in Bilbao, so I'm very close to Fabrizio. Also because I believe that he's very good at communicating about experiences developed in other countries. Such experiences can also be implemented here. But if I may, Fabrizio, I'd like to take a snapshot and talk about what is happening today in September 2021 in our industry. So, thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you. My short speech is going to share with you the idea whether we are future-proof or not. Are jewelers' shops ready for the future? Probably Mr. Donati is not sure. I don't know whether he's smiling or not because he's wearing a mask. But if we ask Marlo Bertucca, he's certainly saying that we are future-proof. And my president has said that we made some steps forward. Mr. De Meo is in doubt and probably he doesn't know what we are going to talk about. Anyway, I'll share with you this snapshot about the present-day situation. Digital world basically are a window for our retail store, but are we able to actually enable our customer to say, wow, what a piece of jewelry? Well, this is a phrase that we minted during a meeting that we held in the Pordenone province, and I wanted to have it here with you, and I hope that Simone is not in disagreement with me, because I believe that this is a phrase that really is very telling. So we asked our customers, we asked people who walk into the stores, out of a sample that we interviewed, jewelers are in time and may develop interactions with customers that can convey emotions, because jewels do convey emotions, and jewels may enable us also to experience new purchasing experiences. For 42% of the interviewees, jewelers still are too old-fashioned in a way, and for the Z generation and with millennials, they perceive that this is quite the case, so between 18 and 40 years of age. But what about you? Do you think that this has just to do with the perception on the way we communicate our values? Do we share our values in an adequate way? Let's look at the different perspective, the perspective of the end consumer and the perspective of the jeweler. How do our customer see in our digital presentation? They see the brand, the price, the fashion effect, the fashion factor, and the sustainability. This is a quite important value that we have to attach great importance to. And what do we see ourselves when we offer our products online? The wearability, the quality of the product, and post-sales services, design, workmanship, and different techniques, because this has a lot to do with the storytelling that we have to share with our end consumers, and the culture and the history that lies behind any piece of jewelry, and the materials that we use, the raw materials, the alloys, and what have you. No doubt, we are faced with a paradigm change in the relationship existing between end consumers and brands, and our companies are getting aware of that. There are many resources they can leverage upon. That is of the digital footprint. Our consumers are not the same as they used to be. Our consumers are not those who make impulse buys. They think about what they buy. How we can change the situation? What actions should be undertaken so as to be modern and attach new values to our services? Are we truly fully exploiting the potentials of digital platforms? To what extent? In what percentage? Do we adequately analyze what happens on the platforms, or are we just developing a website without analyzing the how much that platform is accessed? What is actually making the difference? If we have a wonderful piece of jewelry, if our watches are beautiful, and we fully believe that, we have to promote our objects to our end consumers at best. We've interviewed quite a large sample of businessmen, and we asked them whether it is important to be present online. And 41% of the interviewees highlighted the importance of being present online. You see that there are different percentages in different areas of our country. What do you think are the main social media? What are the most important? Marcello, what do you think is the most important social media for our business community? 82% prefer Facebook. But if you ask a millennial, well, they would say that Facebook is obsolete. But we still are using this social media. What about Instagram? Well, we saw quite a radical increase. It's nearly 70%. Twitter is a minimum percentage, as all the other social media, down to TikTok with 0.8%. But on TikTok, we find quite a lot of videos concerning our industry and the promotion of our products. No social is the reply of 10% of the interviewees. What has been our approach vis-à-vis our end consumers over the past 2 months? 49.3% sold only in physical stores. Fabrizio, this is a piece of information that we talked about this morning, right? 44.2% used both channels, both the physical stores and the online store. 15.2% of the interviewees are getting organized somehow. What does this mean? Well, we don't know exactly what that means. So anyway, let's look at this new slide. We asked what has been the trend of sales online this year vis-à-vis the previous year. Well, 70% of the interviewees said that they don't sell anything online. So they promote their products online, but they don't sell online. It is only 17.5% that sales remain unchanged. 9.3% stated that there has been an increase in online sales, and 4.2% said that there's been a reduction in online sales. Let's have a look at the future. How do network work? How do portal work? On WeP, our French e-commerce website, only last year, 600,000 products, luxury products were sold, which is quite a remarkable number that is increasing month on month. So basically, other industries are getting organized in selling online. Then we've asked to the Italian Association of Watch Producers, a sorology during a piece of research that has been submitted in March. And you see the replies. Over 1/3 of the market is active online for all type of watches. 31% in 2019, increased by some 10% vis-à-vis 2018. So you see that there's been a remarkable increase, both in value terms and in quantity terms. The question that we raised, the last question that we raised, is what the industry sees in its future, and there were 3 replies: positive, negative, unchanged. What do you think the answer that got the highest success? Well, 55% ranks its future in a positive way, And this is quite important. And this is something that is before our eyes to be seen. We are involved in a very lively trade fair event where we are interacting with manufacturers, with our fellow retailers, because we trust the future of our industry, the most beautiful industry ever, because what we sell is emotion. 39.2% expressed some doubts, but I believe that after this fair trade event is going to be more positive, and it is only 5.6% that sees our future in a negative way, and 16,000 points of sales have been interviewed. So this is a very limited number of negative people. So we have to innovate with images, with words, what we offer to our market, be that a watch, be that a piece of jewelry. We have to tell the story. We have to work on the storytelling. So we have to get out from our stores. We have to go in our clubs, for example. We have to go to schools. This is really important. As a federation, we're organizing a whole set of events at community level where we involve all schoolgoers, primary schools and secondary school, and we tell the story of jewels. Latex experience, so just was celebrated at the end of the school year, even if the children were in remote schooling. And we've had this master of watchmaking that held a lecture. And both kids and their parents asked so many questions. So if you tell young people how an alloy is made, how a diamond is set, or how a watch is developed, we find a lot of curiosity. And this is an activity that we have to carry out with our future market. So we certainly have to do more than we do online. And as our president was saying, being online is certainly important to expand our window to produce a multiplicity of products. So before making a purchase, any consumer would look at his or her tablet, his or her phone to understand what is the activity carried out in a certain store. So this is something that we have to consider, because this is what we have to do in the future. Let me quote Valentina Vellucci. If you've looked at what happened on digital talks, you know that she's been presenting speeches, and she talked about Instagram and how to talk about Instagram. She said that establishing relations is always difficult. It takes a lot of time, patience, and interest. We have to nurture relationships. This seems to be very difficult strategically, but those who succeed certainly can grow. This is the challenge ahead of us, Fabrizio. Do you agree with me? Can you tell us about your experiences? Why don't you take us in the world of Kiki Lab? Fabrizio deals with communication, and not just that, because he also speaks different languages. He travels the world extensively, and he deals with many different activities. A few years ago, since more than 5 years have gone by, he came here to Vicenza, and he took us a story connected to the teddy bear. But what does teddy bear have to do within the industry? Well, he had anticipated times, because he talked to us about the custom-made teddy bear, something that took off in the US to gain ground all over the world. So the custom jewelry that is developed based on the requests of the customer. Well, probably the experience of just one brand, but you also basically enabled us to understand this trend. So Fabrizio certainly is innovator, so I'd like to invite you on stage. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you very much, Stephen, for your introduction. Thank you very much to all of you for being here. It is such a great pleasure to be back in Vicenza again. Well, I will talk to you about the future of shops. Long live the shops and stores. Today, Stephen has already introduced several aspects, including digitization, but stores are still at the center, at the focus, which are the keys for the success in this new world, which was already starting to delineate prior to the pandemic that has accelerated this transformation. I am the founder of Kiki Lab. We focus on consultancy for stores, research, training, education, with many different types of shops and stores. And we are the only Italian member of Abeltoft Group, which is present all over the world. 18 companies are part of this consortium, and it is a mutual support for international projects, but also to prepare a speech like today. So we've asked our partners to provide us with some examples. So you will see some examples of your industry coming from other countries thanks to the cooperation with our partners. Right, as Stephen said, there are some positive signs. We've seen that there is a propensity towards positivity. This fair is showing positive results, but we need to understand that those positive signs are, for those who work in this industry, the drive. I mean, this is the right moment to invest, to sow the seeds for the future, like this beautiful painting by Van Gogh shows us. It is now the time to sow the seeds. Resources are back again. We must use them to evolve our shops. This is a survey that was carried out in Europe this year. Let me summarize the meaning of these lines. The blue line shows the following answer. I mean, the question was to consumers. We're talking about general shoppers, not specifically customers of the jewelry shop. So during the pandemic, many stores were closed, so obviously customers focused on online offers, first of all. However, after the pandemic, or thinking about the post-pandemic period, this 33% goes back to 15%. And here we're asking, do you think about going online, not do you shop online? And as we can see, shops soar from 22% to 40%. And ranking first with 41%, we have a mixed situation, i.e. consumers who think about shops and online opportunities. So omni-channels. This means that if you want to be successful in this world, you have to transform yourself into shops that are omni-channel shops. This does not mean only e-commerce. It means having several digital touch points through which we can provide information to our customers, through which we can develop a relationship to reach the target, which is having your customers in your store more frequently than they would normally do. Data show that omni-channel customers are the ones who spend more. Here you can see clothing. Kiabi is a chain of garment stores, but this applies to every industry, luxury and mass market alike. So in this case, the customers that buy only in the shop are or buy 3.5 times a year in Kiabi. Customers buying only on digital media buy 2.3 times each year. Omnichannel customers make their purchases 6.2 times each year. So it is in your interest as traders, as retailers, to focus on omni-channel presence. You shouldn't think that if you have a good presentation, digital presentation, the customer does not come to the store and just shops around on the internet and buys cheaper items. I mean, this can happen, of course, but on average, data show that your customers are going to spend more if you're present on many different channels. I mean, how often does your customer come to your shop? I mean, your customers do not come every week. It's obvious if you sell jewelry. Maybe every few months. What happens in between one visit and the next? Isn't it interesting that through omnichannel, during these 3 months interval between one visit and the other, you can maintain your relationship with a customer, a dialogue on social media, providing the customer with information with a WhatsApp message using the channels that your customers prefer. And Italians have gone social. 88% of them use internet to obtain information and to shop. So this already refers to the consumption of products. 68% makes use of social networks, and figures are growing. Stephen has shown to us that social media have a different level of penetration, and they are attractive to different targets. So much depends on your consumer target. So we need to redefine our focus, because very often we talk about e-commerce, claiming e-commerce is going to be the future. No, e-commerce is not going to be the future. What does Amazon do? Amazon is opening up stores. They're buying stores. Amazon is #1 in the world with more than 600 billion euro in turnover, and they're buying points of sale, shop stores, because they know that the future is not e-commerce, full stop. And e-commerce also has very high logistic products costs, because products have to be sent and returned in many cases, because that's the key of success for e-commerce. You get it at home, you try it. If you don't like it, you can send it back. But the courier has a cost. And Amazon pays billions of dollars each year for returns, because people have ordered items and then they send them back. And there's a significant impact on economic accounts. In a shop where you can advise the customer physically sees and tries on the product, can compare the product with other products, well, the number of returns is much, much lower. So it is not e-commerce, it is info-commerce we have to focus on. This crossroad, we want our customers to come to our stores, but we want to keep on informing them. Talking with Federpreziosi, we were saying the store is a temple, but it is a modern temple with a new way to elicit emotions with the sacrality of the very special products that you can make, bespoke items, for instance. We make use of these tools to help operators find their direction. It is a map, and it is very simple. On one axis, you have the difference between the most emotional customers and the most rational ones. And the very same customer can have a feeling, a very strong feeling and emotion. I have to make a very important present. The emotions are very strong. Or the very same customer may have to buy a little present, say, for the teacher at the end of the year. So in that case, there is more rationality. And then you've got the experience in the shop and outside the shop. Let's have a look at these 4 quadrants. I mean, if we're talking about customers who come to your store with a rational mood, these customers ask for simplicity and speed, promptness. You should never underevaluate this. Also in an industry like yours, where emotions play a fundamental role, but there is some rationality as well, which is not just the price. Rationality also means time. If I have to buy a present, and I have millions of things to do, and I'm going last minute to buy the present. I'm going out for dinner this evening. I do not have much time. I could not find a parking place. I mean, I'm a little bit stressed, and I would like to go in a shop. And very quickly, I would like to be helped to find a solution to my need. Something adequate, something pretty, but without having to spend 1 hour looking at the whole offer of the shop. Let's have a look at some examples coming from other countries and other markets. Sorry, I do not manage to advance the slide. Thank you. So this is something really trivial. I'm going to show you examples, and I'm sure that many of you already do that. But let's just quickly go through them for the benefit of those who do not do that yet. So if you allow your customers who cannot come in working hours, I mean, if you can tell them, look, I can make an appointment at a different time as well. Well, this is a very interesting service that you can provide. But be careful. This is not what you should tell to your usual traditional historical customer, full stop. I believe that you should communicate this in the store, not only verbally, but maybe with a sign. You should communicate this on social media, on your website, with the catchphrase, open for you on appointment beyond working hours. I mean, this is a way to intersect potential customers who cannot come during working hours. And this is true for the clothing industry. Elena Miro, a well-known brand which is part of the Miroglio group, has done this. It is possible to fix a private appointment with a personal stylist in this case, but in your case, an expert jeweler who can advise the customer. And this brand has 35% of sales that are done on appointment. This was 65 at the beginning of lockdown. That was obviously a special moment, but this service has been maintained also now. I mean, in the store, you are there to tell and present your jewels. But let's take a Saturday afternoon when maybe there are customers waiting for you while you're serving other customers. Well, it is very important that the store is organized in such a way that products can start talking for themselves. This is a possibility, for instance. These are some points of sales, our French partners who have sent us some examples. So here you can find some information regarding the history of the brand, of the craftsman on the left who makes the watches, or information about the gemstones. I mean, this is a way to start and bring your customers into the pleasure of the product. So not just the product as such, but all what is behind the product, the knowledge of the product, the quality of the processing, of the manufacturing, artisanal techniques. The knowledge of gemstones. I mean, this is a possibility. And you can also make use of more modern options. United States, chemists, a different industry. But I mean, when you have a lot of product, you cannot just put a lot of signs everywhere in your shop. So why not using the QR code rather than apps? Because apps are interesting, but they're not easy because you've got so many in your mobile phone, too many. So people periodically erase apps. If they haven't used them in the last month, they erase them to make space because they use up gigabytes, they occupy memory space. So the QR code is very interesting. Everybody's got a QR code reader in the smartphone, and it is a way to communicate information. This is very important for the rational mood customer who can save time in the shop because while they're waiting for me, they can start acquiring information. Click and collect, that's another possibility. It does not apply to a very important piece of jewelry, but if it is a small little present should not be snobbed because those who buy small little presents, if they're happy, they come back. So be very careful and helpful also with these customers. So I have no time, I have to buy a silly little present. I mean, you do not even need e-commerce. You just need a click and collect service. Your customers can go online on your website. I like this item. Can I pay, or can I just book it without paying for that? Can I reserve it? And then I'll come back on Friday before closing hour at 7:25, and I'm not embarrassed because I have to work until then, but I'm not bothering you. I just come by. The little packet is present. If I want to put a card, I can tell you what I want to write, and I just come, pay, and collect. Or maybe I've paid online and I just come and collect. And in the USA, they even bring this to your car. So when the customer comes, they send a WhatsApp, I'm here at the curbside, and the juror goes out and directly gives the packet to the customer who's sitting in his car or her car. Christine Amberg, a jeweler, does this click and collect service, and 10% of their online sales are done with this method. Customers buy online and then collect in the store. Let's move to the second quadrant, the field of emotions. In Japan, there is no word for customer as a client. There's only the word guest. A person coming to your shop is called the dear guest. Well, what happens when customers arrive in your store? Do you see them as guests? Do you treat them as important guests? Have you prepared your shop as you would prepare it for a very important guest coming to see you, coming to your home? Maybe not. And I know it is not easy. However, in our opinion, this is how we should think of it. And this applies to you and to your team working in the shop, your relatives, your employees. It is very important. This is Occitane en Provence, natural cosmetics. And in their flagship stores, like the one in Regent Street, London, that opened up 3 years ago, the manager is not a person with selling experience, but comes from the hotel business. The manager of the store used to be a hotel manager because of his attitude towards hospitality, and this makes a difference. I mean, if you want to prevent e-commerce from stealing customers away from you, you have to focus on the way how you treat your customers when they come to the shop. They come to the shop and they have to wait. Maybe the shop assistant is not particularly hospitable and just quickly tries to deal with the customer. Well, if the customer feels like in a supermarket, maybe next time we'll buy online, and this means you won't get the big shopping that given customer might be willing to do later on in life. What about the more digital generations, which are not necessarily the youngest, since also some baby boomers, people of my generation who were born in the 50s and 60s, who have gone very digital. So be careful, it is not just the very young people to be digital. The Bata Group, the historical shoe group, in Verona has launched a new concept of shop. It is called The Loft. It is right in the center of Verona. It has a higher position. It has the best lines. And they have selected their staff in the following way. They did not want people who had shop experience. They wanted people who are passionate about lifestyle, and this is very important also in your industry. You need to have people who are passionate for your jewelry in your shop. And they also check the number of followers on social media, because these shop assistants can become micro-influencer. They can talk about a new product on their social channels. They can write a post about it, and they become a drive to attract people to the store. Then, of course, you can use tablets. This is another very interesting aspect. Unlike screens telling you stories, a tablet is something that can amplify your conversation with a customer, because with the tablet, you can show to the customer the artisanal process to produce a certain item. We're presenting a jewel. We show them how it was made. We can show different types of information. And we can also enlarge some details of the product. You can elicit emotions. In other words, a small shop, and a shop in general, can become the site of events. This is running in Canada, a shop specializing in shoes and accessories for runners, for people doing marathons. It has been very, very successful. And what do? They also give courses on eating habits, on preventing health problems. You know, you can enlarge the culture that you are describing and disseminating. And this applies to jewelry also, because jewelry is part of a general lifestyle. I mean, what is interesting about the events? Do I do events because I can sell more? That's not the number one reason. The number one reason is you can collect the data of your customers. Americans have been saying this for years. Customers' data, their email, their mobile number are the new oil for our companies. They are the most precious thing you can collect, store, and use in the right way. How many of you collect the data of all your customers coming to your shop? Please raise your hand. Right, I can see a few hands. Well done, but this is not the majority. Of course, we're talking about collecting data in compliance with the privacy rules. But you have to do this also for the occasional customer who you've never seen before. Do not be scared of asking him or her to leave their references so that we can keep in contact, so that you can send information, so that you can invite them to your events, so that you can inform about what's new. Many customers are happy to give you that data. But of course, you must not be pestering them afterwards. Do not send a WhatsApp message every day. Otherwise, they would immediately want you to erase their mobile number. It has to be done in a target-oriented way. So also ask your customer what this customer is interested in. I'm only interested in watches, so it's pointless to send jewelry. I can send you a message once a month about watches. This is another interesting point. Grammable stores for selfies. What does that mean? These are shops that have got corners simulating customers to make a selfie and post it on the Instagram. So these shops use their customers as ambassadors. That's another clever idea. You know, you might have a customer who loves a specific piece of jewelry, but maybe she hasn't got the money to buy it right now. But she would like to try it on. So she tries it on, she makes a selfie, and she posts it in her social channels. Well, that's not bad for you. It's a nice way to make other people know about you. Another interesting aspect is less is more. Reduce your assortment in the shop. Domenico Concato, I don't know whether you know him, has glasses, sells glasses. He's the son of a jeweler, but to diversify from his father, he wanted to be active in a different sector, and he chose spectacles. So as you can see in his shop, there are not many products. There's no well-known brand. So he works on a very selected collection, design products, brands that are not very well known. He's excellent at training his staff and motivating them so that a lot of storytelling is done in this shop. So this shop started here in Vicenza, and now there are 6 shops, 2 of which are in New York. This proves that it is possible to do things well, even if you are starting small. You have to choose your position, but let's not forget, because if you show fewer items, you can communicate better. He doesn't do any e-commerce, for instance. Domenico uses the digital channels to maintain a relationship with his customers, but he wants to see them personally in his stores. Customization, this is something you know very, very well. Kendra Scott in the US allows people to obtain all the information online. This is a screenshot. You can see, choose your category, choose your style, choose your metal and stones. You can take all the photographs you want, but you can also have the whole presentation, so don't worry about that. So you follow these 3 steps. And I mean, this is what you actually do in the shop, but doing it online could bring you a different kind of audience. Those people who, before deciding what to buy in a shop, start navigating on their mobile phone. And if you're not there in that moment when the customer is curious to know, then the customer is lost. Involvement outside the shop, 3rd quadrant. So emotions and experience outside the shop, which means the digital experience, that's obvious. What about WhatsApp? WhatsApp is used by everybody. Grandparents speak with their grandchildren via WhatsApp. They communicate with them on WhatsApp. It is very simple to use, and also the least digital people are able to use it. I don't know if you've read that WhatsApp has already declared that in a short while it will be a payment system. There will be a payment possibility integrated with the app. Bingo! I receive a link. I mean, I see something, I like it, I send you the link. Have a look at it, click on the button, you bought it. Or you've ordered it. And you can come by and you will find the product ready to take away. All packed and ready. This is the flagship store of Feltrinelli in Milan. They have introduced also the possibility of reserving a book via WhatsApp. So to save money, I mean, I'm leaving the office, it is late. I send a WhatsApp, please get this book ready for me so that I can come by and fetch it. It's an excellent service to your customers. In this flagship store, Feltrinelli also provides you with a short critical report about books. So the bookseller, so to say, might have read a book and might want to communicate what he thinks about the book. Couldn't you do, as jewelers, do something similar? Little short communications about a piece of jewelry you've got in your store that has just arrived, or you could explain an idea of jewelry. I mean, that's a picture done in the shop, but thinking about your shops which are smaller. I think about short videos with a critical description of your products that can be sent to your customers via WhatsApp, that can be published on your website. So if you know that your customer is interested in something, well, why not sending a very short video about something peculiar that might be of interest for him or her? Google My Business. How many of you have subscribed to this service? Please raise your hand. Right. Don't forget, this is a free of cost service. Customers looking for you may want to know when you're open, so they go on Google, jeweler, Smith, Padua, and they find a short information about the jeweler, the times when it is open, the address, and the stars, the evaluations of the customers. So I can also read what customers have written about this. So if you subscribe this, and it is free of cost, Google informs you when a customer writes a remark, which is very important. It is very important for positive comments. This is a toy shop, and there is a beautiful comment, and the shopkeeper writes, yes, we have the best possible customers you can wish for. This is a nice way to react. And when a non-customer reads something like that, thinks, gosh, how nice they are, let's have a look. What a nice way they have. And then, of course, if a customer complains and writes a negative comment, your reaction is even more important. So you have to react quickly, promptly. The timing of reaction is paramount. I mean, if you see that this shopkeeper replies after 2 months to an unhappy customer, well, this shopkeeper is not particularly caring of their customers. You have to reply quickly, kindly, and then, of course, you have to bring the customers away from a public site. So you can say, please call this number, write WhatsApp to this number, because we would like to know better what happened so that we can improve in the future. And here we have several examples that we have collected with our partners all over the world. From the United States and Australia, for instance, the virtual augmented reality try-on test. So there are some apps that allow you to see how that given ring would look on your hand or that necklace around your neck. Obviously, it is not exactly the same as trying the physical ring on in the store. I know this better than you, but it is a piece of the jigsaw puzzle and can bring the customer to your shop rather than to another one. The same is true for online 3D ring configurators, giving you the possibility to customize the design, making use of these apps and systems. This is a Swiss company, and there can also be handmade solutions, so a mixture of channels, also for artisanal, top-quality productions, handcrafted productions, so that you can support the customer. Because then the customer will go to the store, obviously. This is what happens in Switzerland as well, to conclude the purchase. But if we're talking about an important piece of jewelry, talking about people who've got a certain availability of money to make this purchase may not have the time to come 2, 3, 4, 5 times in your shop to talk about it, to try things on. I mean, let's find different systems to intercept them. And then, of course, also the customization of jewelry. This is Mimoke in Spain, top-level jewelry, and private video calls that allow you to interact with the designer. The designer can show things, can also draw by hand little sketches. And then with a tablet, it is possible to make increasingly more sophisticated things to show the very details of your offer. Australia, virtual consultancy with video chat connection. I have to make a present. Right, I will advise you about the best choice for an engagement ring. I mean, all this usually takes place in the shop. But you can also do this via a video call. And this is interesting because today we've got used to video calls after 1.5 years of smart working, remote schooling. We've even seen our relatives on Zoom. It's a new competence. I mean, it is not exactly the same thing, but it is not too bad an experience. It can be interesting. The very last quadrant, and I will conclude, I mean, if we are outside the shop and we are talking about a rational experience, the words are simplicity and promptness. So this is Vision Ottica, an optical chain of shops. The visual stress test that can be done online to people who think they might have some problems. And after this test, the customer, if necessary, is invited to visit the shop. And they suggest the nearest shop to the customer. Very simple, very rational. What about subscriptions? This is something coming from the United States as an idea. Italy is a different country, but we believe that there is room for this as well. There are people who like to change their look and who like to change their jewelry, but maybe cannot buy a different piece of jewelry every month. Well, what about a system like this one, with an insurance policy and everything? You just subscribe to rent jewels. This is Purely Germany, 25 euros a month, of course, for a certain range of jewelry. And it is very interesting for the modern target, the younger target, who do not have any problems. I mean, the jewel is then brought back to the jewelry shop, is sterilized, and is reused again. I mean, jewelry is not like a pair of shoes. I mean, in France, they also rent shoes, but that's a different issue. It could be a little bit more difficult in Italy. But jewels are a different story. That's another example of jewelry subscription schemes, 27 euros a month. And also, without subscription, you can actually rent jewels. I mean, if you subscribe, you commit yourself, but of course, you can also withdraw from that. But let's say you've got a big event and you want to rent some beautiful jewelry for that event. So that was the general picture I wanted to share with you. I've got millions of other things to tell you, but we'll debate about this with Stephen. There is the issue of sustainability. Just 1 minute. Sustainability is becoming more and more important. Here you can see 4Ocean producing bracelets with recycled materials, plastic, glass and steel. Traceability of raw materials and diamonds is also very important. Verona in Spain has an app so that you can receive all these kinds of certificates on your telephone. To summarize, the future is not e-commerce, and it is not stores as they are today, with some exceptions because some are already modern. The future will be omni-channel shops, and the future is now. It is now that we need to soar. Thank you very much for your attention. And now we're going to debate this with Stephen. And don't forget our world survey that you can download if you're interested in it.
Thank you, Fabrizio. You're so interesting and fascinating, also emotionally. We have some extra minutes. We have some 5 minutes. And let me take advantage of those extra minutes to see whether you need any further information, if you have any questions. Anna Perry, I think. It was interesting. She is a manufacturer in the province of Cosenza in the Calabria region, and she was nodding when you talked about the possibility of wearing the jewel. She manufactures the special jewels. She's always looking for innovation. It's an historical business, and she's nodding. Perhaps she had some doubts on the possibility to wear jewels on digitally. Thank you. Good morning to you all. Well, presenting jewels, as you told, is really interesting, but it really requires also a lot of investment, I believe. So sometime you can keep abreast, with innovations required, but other times you have to opt for other choices. You certainly talked about something modern and innovative, but I believe that it requires a lot big initial investment. So perhaps small manufacturers find it difficult to keep abreast with such investment. You talked about the future for now. So perhaps now it's the right time to keep abreast, to make the investment to keep abreast with times, right? Fabrizio is my friend from Cisternino. He has taken pictures when you showed about that magazine on jewels. Is there something that hit you? Are you scared about the investment, and as Anna was? Fabrizio, why don't you raise your hand so that you can get the microphone? Thank you. Good morning to you all. Thank you. I didn't quite understand what is the magazine you were referring to. It wasn't really a magazine, but is there a comment that you'd like to voice? Is there a question that you'd like to raise? No, thank you very much for your presentation. I thought it was very interesting. I'm sure that we have to take action. There are many ideas that play an active role, and that we certainly have to try and have our windows talk, to have QR codes, and give our customers the possibility to interact with the product, to get more information about the product. I very much agree with what you said on the selfie, and that perhaps is something for newer generation, but that certainly is interesting. Certainly, you have provided with a lot of food for thought, and certainly the time is now to consider all these options that were not available in ancient times, that could not be even thought of in the past, but that now have become a must, because we have to keep abreast with the times. The marketplace evolves, our customers evolve, they are ever more demanding, and keeping abreast with times is certainly key. So thank you very much for your contribution, your ideas. I think the time to act is now, because these changes have been somewhat promoted by the pandemics. So I believe again that now we have to keep abreast of times. We have to take actions, because these tools have already been adopted by our colleagues and competitors. So we have to act swiftly. Thank you. Thank you. Now, before I give the floor back to Fabrizio, I see that Alberto Piras maybe would like to make a comment. How did you organize your store in Oristano in Sardinia? Because that perhaps can also be of interest. Thank you. Good morning. I had to change a store that had been in a place for 50 years, and I had to move somewhere. And as president of a shopping mall, I try and establish synergies with other activities because the store I was moving to was much larger. So I involve flower sellers, booksellers, and I developed an area where we had a gallery, basically, with a number of businesses surrounding mine. And they also organize events. For example, there are book presentations or courses to arrange flowers. We also organize events on perfumes, all things that may draw people to our new retail area. We organize many events. Also, we communicate a lot through social media, and e-commerce has already been activated. And for 12 years now, we have collected data. Indeed, we've distributed our consumers for 12 years with 12,000 customers involved. So we get the data, and as we offer a cashback whenever they make a purchase. So we have this card that informs us about the data on our consumers. Thank you. Now, Agostino was about to go away. 1914, historical company for Agostino. I believe you're the third generation in the store. How are you getting organized based on the ideas that Fabrizio has been sharing with us? You are active on social media. So how did you organize your activities in store? Agostino has the floor. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for the interesting presentation we just heard. I was talking also with Natoli, the president of the General Association. Social media are a new language that we have to learn as if we were learning a new language from scratch. We have to start using this language and talk. We try and use a social media. So whenever we come to the trade fair, for example, we show what we see, what lies behind a jewel, how a jewel is made. And also when we go around in the evening, we show who we are meeting. This is a very personal dialogue that we try and establish. So it is very important that each of us learn this language, not using just the images of our company, but also different languages. So, for example, we could use certain images in the story connected to the products, and then on Instagram and Facebook we look also and we include images that we generate and with text that we generate, because we believe that conveying images and words is important when those words and images connect to the company, but also when they connect to who you are, what you do, what you like. So basically, there's diverse communication which is underway. So this is very interesting, Fabrizio, isn't it? You were asking for contribution from members of the trade. So we see that the trade, actually the industry, is very hungry for information. And you have provided us with a lot of hints. And we have to sow seeds as this industry requires a harvest, a very generous harvest. Indeed, this is what we expect for the future. And I believe we still have time to invest. Anna was talking about economic investment, but I believe that we also have to invest in ideas. Anna started this discussion, and I think that she is certainly a leader because she turned an historical brand into a point of reference in her region. Alberto was very interesting as well, because when he sent me the pictures of that gallery, well, I thought they were very interesting because that looks like an open space with different activities where different businesses interact. There are no barriers between the different businesses. There are no walls in a way, and hence the need for a virtual space where you can actually find out information about that little mall, basically. We were talking this morning over the phone, and I think this is important. You were talking about the need not just for e-commerce, but for other factors that enable us to be active today as if it were the future already. Thank you. I see that there's lots of lively comments, that there are lively businessmen, lovely entrepreneurs that are going ahead and setting the pace. So what the Fiera Vicenza does is to enable sharing such activities so that each of us can draw inspiration. So there's the need also for economic investment, as the lady said. But, technology are ever cheaper. Our smartphone, for example, have quite important cameras that you can use your smartphone to take good quality pictures. But when it comes to investment, well, I appreciated what the gentleman from Moriscano said. I really much appreciate of the sharing and working with other colleagues. In that case, the gentleman from Maristano was referring to this large space where he needed more businesses to cooperate. But even in the case of small stores, making an investment on a technology solution might lead us into maybe sharing the same for other colleagues in other cities, so that you don't have to compete with your local colleagues, and so that you can share in the investment. Federpreziosi and Confcommercio have always been very active in preaching for the need of joining efforts. Even when it comes to investments, there's a component which is variable, but there's something which is fixed. If you have to take care of that cost by yourself, of course, that is quite demanding. But if you share and join efforts with other colleagues, then you can basically work as a team, indeed, networking and acting as a team. I very much agree of what the gentleman from Genova said in the Liguria region, when he referred also to original contents. Of course, we have to use the material that is given to us by the different brands because they are well made, but we can't just constrain to that or limit to that, because each of us should express our own voices, our own take on things, take on jewelry, so as to develop loyal customers, basically, and pushing your contacts or your customers to go to your stores. Because if I'm interested just in one brand, then I can see whereabout that brand is sold, but I can go also elsewhere. Thank you, Fabrizio. Do you agree on that? Thank you for being very interesting. Bianca Pizzuto is amongst us, Marano, near Naples. She runs a family business. Bianca, you're very active on social media, aren't you? You're always very present, right? You interact on social media. You tell a lot of stories on your activity. Did you find today's discussion interesting? Quite sure, and I had no doubt about that. With two gentlemen that are quite knowledgeable, I knew that I was going to hear something important. I am very social myself, not just for my business. This is very much in line with who I am. I like sharing. I enjoy. Understand Facebook as a way to get in touch with people, to be in touch, and so I use Facebook also for my own business. And I see that social media have promoted a certain interest. So the service that we offer together with the objects of the items that we sell is a reason for the interest on the part of potential consumers. So I believe that social media are very useful. Well, certainly we should do more anyway, but we are trying to improve because I believe that this is what the future has in stock for us. So she's part of that 14% stating we are getting organized. In my store, there's my father, who belongs to a certain generation. He's 77 now. And then there's my nephew, who's 19. And there is one other generation, me and my brother, who are trying to get adjusted to changes, of course. So we have basically to get in touch with the older generation and with the newer generation. So we have to act as bridges and try and be more active. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just 2 remarks. Well, if you're already passionate, it is easier. If you're not that passionate about social media, you need to understand that A, it is a new language, like our colleague Fabrizio has said, and you need to use them in the appropriate way. I'm not saying that you have to be perfect, but you cannot improvise. Anyhow, there are good people on the market that can help you. Costs are accessible, and you can get some professional support, and this is very important. So that's the number 1 point. Then, of course, the generational change is another significant topic. You need to be able to let young people have more room. We have participated in a workshop for innovation that also included a jewelry shop, where it was clear that the daughter of the founder had many interesting ideas, but she didn't have the room in the shop to develop them because the founder did not give any possibility to evolve. Well, I have to say that in the watch business, this is quite a widespread problem. So here I'm talking to the founders of these activities. They need to understand that our children and grandchildren are more similar in culture to our new customers, so they can help our shops to open up to the world of the future, which, as we said before, is now, if we're able to change our language. Great. If there are no other questions, thank you very much for being here, and see you next time in Vicenza Oro in January. Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for staying with us until the very end. Thank you. And of course, we're willing to answer your questions also privately. Thank you.